Welcome to the 2017-18 school year. I'm Brad Jadarski, the Oshkosh West Activities Coordinator, and I'll be narrating you through our coaches meeting presentation. I would encourage you to have your OASD coaches manual with you, as I will be referencing it throughout this video presentation. Please keep in mind, as a paid coach of the Oshkosh Area School District, you are responsible for all of the material found within the coaches manual. If you have a question about anything at any time, please don't hesitate to ask. During the course of your coaching season, you will receive a number of emails from me, some of which will be from the WIAA, others will be just directly from me regarding either state association or school district policies, rules, and regulations. Please keep in mind some of the things that you need to keep with you at all times as a paid coach. One is the emergency response plan. Please be familiar with it, read it over, assign specific people to different duties. The emergency response plan is there to help you not have to think in the event of an emergency. Again, it can happen at any time to anybody, so please familiarize yourself with the OASD emergency response plan. If you are a coach that has a season where athletes compete outside, please be aware of the heat and lightning information from the WIAA. That information is also found on their website as well. There's also information on the WIA website regarding nutrition. Please take time to familiarize yourself with that information so that you can provide resources to your student athletes. Also, make sure you hand out and collect the pink emergency cards from your student athletes. On those pink emergency cards, students should be listing any pre-existing medical conditions. As a paid coach, it is imperative that you are familiar with any pre-existing medical conditions of your student athletes. Please take the time at the beginning and throughout the course of your season to remind your student athletes to inform you of any pre-existing medical condition that they do have. Also, we have one athletic trainer this year. Tyler Van Sistine is our athletic trainer. He is hopeful to add UWO helpers throughout the course of the school year. But Tyler will be replacing Andrea this school year. So please make it a point to introduce yourself to Tyler so that he can put a face with the sport and person that you are. Please note, the Oshkosh West Athletic Department vision statement is to educate, inspire, and shape the next generation of leaders through commitment, competition, and service to the team, our school, and our community. We also developed a number of core values. We have 5. 1, do the right thing, integrity and honesty in thoughts, actions, and words. 2, strive for greatness, excellence in academics, athletics, and character. 3, lead with the purpose, selfless commitment to team goals. 4, promote the Wildcat culture, pride in self, team, and school. And 5, raise the bar, inspire others to be their best. Please make it a point throughout the course of your season or seasons to utilize this terminology with our student athletes. There's also a curriculum file that will be emailed to you that'll have different lessons you can utilize during the course of your season regarding any of these core values. Also, if you find something that works very well for you regarding one of these core values, please upload it to the character curriculum file. Again, the vision statement, core values, and Wildcat Creed was a year-long exercise developed in regards to input from student athletes, stakeholders, and coaches. This is the direction we go with all of our decision-making regarding athletics at Oshkosh West High School. Again, we want student athletes to hear the same terminology throughout the course of any season during the school year they participate in, so please make it a point as a coach to utilize these terms when you see our student athletes doing one or more of these things. Regarding the co-curricular handbook, there's really only one significant change for student athletes this school year, and that is in regards to amateur status. There has been a change to the amateur status area. Basically, a student may receive a medal, cup, trophy, or plaque from the sponsoring organization regardless of cost. School mementos valued not more than $200 An award valued not more than $100 retail for participation in an athletic contest in a WIA recognized sport, and a student athlete may retain non-school competition apparel worn by the student as part of the team uniform. Please note the team uniform is very specific. It is not a hat, not a warm-up, etc. So that is the new amateur status language, which is a significant change from previous school years. If you have any questions on that, please let me know. So at this time, please grab your or open your OASD Coaches Handbook. Again, as I mentioned, you are responsible for all of the material found within the handbook. The table of contents at the front is very helpful. I'm going to cover a few of the things that I feel are most important at this time. We're going to start on page 13 with the 14 duties of negligence litigation. Again, 14 areas where you as a coach, myself as an athletic director, and our school could end up in court if we're found to be negligent in any of these areas. So again, please take the time to read all 14 of these duties. 1, the duty to plan. Again, it is important that we have a plan in place for everything we do in regards to athletics. Duty to supervise, one of the most important. A coach must be physically present, provide competent instruction, structure practices that are appropriate for the age and maturity of players, prevent foreseeable injuries, and respond to injury or trauma in an approved manner. Again, practice does not start until you're there as a coach. Practice ends when you leave. If it is in a way competition, you should be the first one as a coach in the building to let student athletes in and the last one to leave after the last student athlete has been picked up. Never leave practice for any amount of time where the kids are left unsupervised at all. Please make sure all district facilities are locked if you practice after school hours or on weekends or non-school days. Again, make sure you have a coach in the coach's office after practice in the event that there's an issue in the locker room. Maybe if you have multiple coaches, you can take turns and rotate who's there for coverage, but we need to have proper supervision. 3, duty to assess athletes' readiness for practice and competition. We require physicals and other related paperwork requirements in order to begin participation in athletics. Number 4, duty to maintain safe playing conditions. You are considered a trained professional who possesses a higher level of knowledge and skill that permits you to identify foreseeable causes of injury inherent in defective equipment or hazardous environments. Again, if you're aware of any unsafe condition in your playing area or practice area or any defective equipment, please let me know immediately so we can get it taken care of. Duty to provide proper equipment. It is imperative as a coach that you inform me of any national or state changes regarding equipment that we need to have. 6, duty to instruct properly. Athletic practices must be characterized by instruction that accounts for a logical sequence of fundamentals that lead to an enhanced progression of player knowledge, skill, and capability. Again, gradually build on skill progression so that the student athlete is not put in a position where they could be hurt. 7, duty to match athletes. Athletes should be matched with consideration for maturity, skill, age, size, and speed. Again, use common sense when you have athletes matched up, maybe one-on-one in drills, such that you don't have a 6'2", 250-pound student athlete paired with a 5'3", 100-pound student athlete. Again, common sense there. 8, duty to condition properly. Practices must account for a progression of cardiovascular and musculoskeletal conditioning regimens that prepare athletes sequentially for more challenging practices and competitive activities. As an example, the first day of practice, you shouldn't put the kids on the line and have them run conditioning for 15 or 20 minutes or more. Use, again, common sense, logical progression. 9, duty to warn. Coaches are required to warn parents and athletes of unsafe practices specific to a sport and the potential for injury or death. Again, take the time throughout the course of your season, especially in the first few days, to remind the athletes of different dangers that exist in the sport. As an example, in football, a good idea to explain to the kids the dangers associated with the sport. the proper way to tackle. Maybe video record that so that if questioned on it, you can refer back to, nope, we taught the proper way to tackle. If you're a runner and the kids are running in the neighborhood, remind them to look both ways before crossing the street. Let them know to be aware of hazards as they run in the neighborhoods. Avoid maybe running next to homes that say beware of dog, etc. So again, don't assume the athletes know everything. Common sense here, but again, please take the time to warn the athletes of any specific dangers associated with your sport. Do you ensure athletes are covered by injury insurance? Do you provide emergency care? Again, now the state requires all paid coaches to be CPR, AED, and first aid certified. We also have athletic trainers available. 12, do you develop an emergency response plan? You have one provided to you. Please make sure you are aware of it and have assigned maybe specific individuals to areas of the emergency response plan. Do you provide proper transportation? Again, any school-related activity will require us to transport student athletes. As a coach, never allow student athletes to transport other students to a practice or competition site. They are not allowed to compete if that happens. Again, all students get there in school-provided transportation or with a parent if prior permission has been provided by the school. Duty to select, train, and supervise coaches. Again, if there are clinics that you would like to attend, please let me know. We'll see what we can do to help make that happen for you. We expect and encourage you to stay on top of your sport regarding the latest skills, strategies, and techniques. Also, coaches, please keep a written practice plan for each and every day of practice. Have a plan in place, put it in writing. Put them in a binder, keep them for multiple years. Again, the reason being, if you're questioned about not having done something correctly, you can pull out that practice plan and say, nope, on this specific day, we did this, this, and this. Again, the rule of thumb is keep your practice plans in a binder and keep your plans for up to 4 years. So again, please take the time to familiarize yourself with these 14 duties. On page 23 is information about the district's policy on open gyms and the WIA stance. Again, all open gyms shall meet all requirements presented by the WIAA. They're found in the rules at a glance. Please note, no open gym shall start later than 7:30 or run later than 9 without permission of the activities coordinator or principal. Open gyms are not permitted on Wednesdays past 6 p.m. Regarding club sports, the district understands that students may want to participate in club athletic programs during the school year during their high school sports season. As a result, the athletic departments would like to provide guidance for parents and athletes concerning this issue. Varsity athletes. If a student is on a varsity high school team, the head coach will determine whether or not students will be allowed to practice or participate in a club athletic program during their varsity high school season. If a coach's position is no athletic club participation during the varsity high school season, it is based on the premise that a student's loyalty and allegiance should be to the high school team. For non-varsity athletes, if a student is on a JV or freshman high school team, students will be allowed to participate in club athletic programs during their JV or freshman high school season with the following stipulations. 1, the student and parents need to inform the coach about their intentions. And 2, students will not be allowed to miss high school scheduled practice or competition for a club athletic practice or competition. Please note, head coaches, in particular with varsity athletes, you need to be consistent in your application of this policy with students in your programs. Again, please work with your parents and student athletes. Remind them to have that communication with you early and right away regarding any non-school club participation during your high school season. And please note the WIA rule concerning non-school participation. It is the philosophy of the WIAA that a student owes loyalty and allegiance to the school and team of which he or she is a member during the season of a given sport. A student athlete with school approval is allowed to participate in up to 2 non-school contests during the regular season in the same sport in the same season. The North and West athletic departments will deal with these situations on a case-by-case basis. But please note, if a student wants to participate in a non-school activity in the same sport during your high school season, they must get approval from you and the school in advance. This time I'm going to ask you to turn to pages 32 and 33, which list the responsibilities and duties of all coaches. Please make sure you familiarize yourself with all areas 1 through 16. As a note, all paid coaches must be CPR and AED and first aid certified. All coaches must complete the WIAA rules exam and watch the rules sport video for your sport online as well. That's all coaches, both paid and volunteer. So head coaches, if you have volunteer coaches, I'll need their email address so that I can set them up in the WIAA database. On page 34 are found the responsibilities and duties of the head coach. Again, head coaches, please familiarize yourself with items number 1 through 15. On pages 35 and 36 are the coach's code of ethics. Again, please take the time to read each of those areas. I want to identify or mention a few in particular. The coach must be aware that he or she has a tremendous influence, either good or bad, in the education of the student athlete, and thus shall never place the value of winning above the value of instilling the highest ideals of character. The coach must constantly uphold the honor and dignity of the profession. In all personal contact with the student athlete, officials, ADs, school administrators, the WIAA, the media, and the public, the coach shall strive to set an example of the highest ethical and moral conduct. The coach will strive to model behavior expected of our student athletes as stated in the OASD Co-curricular Handbook, which includes the use of profanity and unsportsmanlike conduct. Also remember, coaches, you will get a copy of our Wildcat Creed. As a coach, you are expected to model those behaviors 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. The coach shall take an active role in the implementation of the OASD Athletic Code and under no circumstances, when learning of a violation, not report it. The coach should be thoroughly acquainted with the contest rules and is responsible for their interpretation to team members. The spirit and letter of the rules should be regarded as mutual agreements. The coach shall not try to seek an advantage by circumvention of the spirit or letter of the rules. Again, you are considered the expert. Please make sure you know all of the district policies and WIAA rules and regulations regarding your particular sport. The coach shall actively use his or her influence to enhance sportsmanship by spectators, working closely with booster clubs, spirit clubs, and administrators. The coach shall respect contest officials. Public criticism of officials or players is unethical. The coach shall not exert pressure on faculty members to give student athletes special consideration. So again, please familiarize yourself with the different areas of the coach's code of ethics. The next section I want to spend a little bit of time on is in regards to the WIAA rules at a glance. Again, this is the quick cheat sheet of some of the more important WIAA rules that as a coach you need to be familiar with. I am going to talk about a few. Number 1, under coaches and coaching contact. Coaches may not have coaching contact with any athletes they will be coaching the following school season during restricted times. There is no distinction between varsity and JV coaches. JV coaches cannot coach varsity athletes during restricted times and vice versa, nor any distinction between paid and non-paid or volunteer coaches. An exception is that varsity and JV coaches can have coaching contact with students who have just completed 8th grade or any preceding grade up until these 8th graders actually start their 9th grade year. Further, coaches may not mandate athletes participate in non-school competition or determine who may or may not participate in a non-school activity. Coaches may not require involvement in out-of-season activities as part of the requirements for making a school team, earning a school letter, etc. Coaches may not provide incentives such as t-shirts, etc. for participation in the off-season. Clinics and school facilities. Schools may not be involved in conducting clinics outside the season, with the following exceptions, so long as participation is voluntary and available to all interested students. There shall be no restrictions upon schools, school teams, and school coaches relative to assembling in the summertime. A school may conduct a clinic for students in grades 8 and below, where high school varsity and JV coaches may use all of their high school athletes as clinicians. This may be done for a maximum of 6 days during the summer, which is when school is not in session, and must conclude no later than July 31st. Clinics not utilizing athletes as clinicians may be conducted throughout the summer up to the start of school. Open gyms. Coaches in schools cannot be involved in out-of-season practice for athletes. However, open gyms do not violate WIA rules if they are conducted to the following guidelines. 1. The open gym is made known and available to all students in the designated population of that school. Open gyms may be gender specific. It is also acceptable to include people from the community. It is not acceptable to include athletes from another school, public or non-public, and it is not acceptable to include middle school students. There can be no instruction during the open gym by a coach or anyone else. Coaches may supervise open gyms, but they may not instruct, organize drills, etc. Coaches can also recreate with students in school-sponsored open gym settings that are purely recreation in nature. For example, there's no instruction, sport-specific demonstration, organized drills, or resemblance of a practice being conducted. Open gym is not a code word for out-of-season practice. Who may participate interscholastically? A school may use on its teams only its full-time students enrolled in grades affiliated with WIAA membership. Again, if you have a transfer student at any time, a foreign exchange student or a new student you're not aware of, assume they are ineligible to begin practice until cleared by the athletic office. G. Consecutive days of practice and competition. A team must take 1 day off from all physical activity after 6 consecutive days of practice or competition. Teams may schedule non-physical activities such as film review, scouting reports, rehab during a day off. So the calendar week runs Sunday to Saturday. You must have 1 day off after 6 consecutive days of practice or competition. Please note your off day stays the same day of the week until you have 2 off days in the same week. Questions on that, please let me know. Age requirement. A student shall be ineligible if he or she reaches his or her 19th birthday before August 1st of any given school year. Amateur status, extremely important. A student may not accept, receive, and or direct to another reimbursement in any form of salary, cash, or share of game or season proceeds for athletic accomplishments such as being on a winning team, being selected for the varsity team, or being a place winner in an individual tournament. A student may receive school mementos valued not more than $200, an award no more than $100 retail, and may retain non-school competition apparel worn by the student as part of the team uniform. Rules further prevent athletes from receiving compensation or benefit directly or indirectly for the use of name, picture, and or personal appearance as an athlete because of ability, potential, and or performance as an athlete. This includes receiving free and or reduced rates on equipment, apparel, camps, clinics, instruction, and competitive opportunities that are not identical for any and all interested students. A student may not be identified as an athlete, provide endorsement as an athlete, or appear as an athlete in the promotion of a commercial, advertisement, and or profit-making event, item, plan, or service. Also, an athlete violates this rule if he or she plays in any contest, school or non-school, under a name other than his or her own. So again, please note that amateur status rule change in regard to the school memento, not more than $200, and an award valued no more than $100 retail. Also, encourage your athletes never to allow another organization or person to use their picture for any promotional activities or being involved in any business advertisement, radio commercial, television commercial, etc. Questions on anything at all, please ask. Non-school participation. WA rules do not prevent athletes from practicing with non-school teams or from receiving private skill instruction during the school season. Rules indicate athletes may not participate in more than 2 non-school competitions during the school season in the same respective sport with school approval. Non-school competitions include races, scrimmages against other teams, normal non-school games, gimmicks such as reduced number competitions, 3-on-3 basketball, 6-player soccer, fun runs. During the season, athletes may participate in skills contest or a skills contest with approval of the school. Specific skill contests such as punt, pass, and kick, shooting contests, free throws, 3-point, drive, chip, and putt isolate separate skills outside of the traditional competition setting. The skill contest may not include physical contact or extreme fatigue as the actual sport competition. Fun runs are not considered skills contests. There can be no school coach involvement. All other eligibility rules, including amateur status, apply. Additionally, a student who was a member of a school team during the previous year may not delay reporting for the school team beyond the school's official opening day of practice in order to continue non-school training or competition. All-Star contests. Athletes with remaining high school eligibility may not participate in all-star contests. During the school year, a school, including its administrators, athletic director, and coaches, shall not become involved directly or indirectly with any kind of all-star or similar contest that involves students with remaining eligibility. Expenses, training and competing. The WIA recognizes a distinction between training and competing. Students must pay their own expenses, including transportation to any non-school or out-of-season camps, clinics, or specialized training. A student may be reimbursed actual and necessary costs associated with competition. This may include transportation, food, lodging, and entry fees. A school may not become involved financially through transportation or any other way in a student's non-school competition outside the sports season and the 5 board-controlled approved unrestricted contact days in the summer. Out of season, athletes may participate in non-school competition outside the school season, however, certain restrictions apply. Amateur status rules are still in effect and must be observed. Team makeup may not be restricted based on school or team status. The WI High School Athletic Eligibility Information Bulletin is there for your information as well. Again, this is something the parents and student athletes get. It's a cheat sheet for them to be aware of some of the more important rules and regulations from the WIAA. Again, please familiarize yourself with this section. Specifically, pay attention to the transfer area. Again, if a student is a transfer student, meaning new to the district at any time, please assume they are ineligible until cleared by the athletic office. Also, again, take a look at all the amateur status provisions, A through E. Also familiarize yourself with the sports activities outside of school section as well. The next appendix found in the coach's handbook is the WIAA Performance Enhancing and Banned Substances. Please note, the WIAA is against the use of anabolic, androgenetic steroids, and other performance-enhancing substances. Coaches, teachers, sports medicine staff, and school administrators who ignore or encourage the use of performance-enhancing substances provide and/or sell performance-enhancing substances to athletes, including indirect distribution through a third party, shall be subject to their own school's provisions regarding discipline. A student athlete is required to follow the school's code of conduct on a 12-year basis. or 12-month basics, excuse me. Banned substances, do not use. Drugs that are illegal or could be harmful if taken in excess amount. Possession and or use violates the WIA code. Note, medications prescribed by a health provider used by the individual they have been prescribed to and used as prescribed should not be viewed as violating the controlled substance or supplemental provisions of the school's code. Discouraged. Possession and or use may violate school district policy or code. So please take a look at the items that are banned and discouraged. On the second page of the banned and performance enhancing and banned substance list are permissible supplements. Please be aware of those as well. There's also information regarding eligibility from the WIAA for coaches and eligibility information for athletes. Please note the district has specific fundraising policies. Please note that information, policy 5830. If you flip it over, there's also the fundraising form that needs to be filled out in advance prior to any fundraiser taking place. Please note you must fill out and check one of the boxes for the 4 questions that are asked. This fundraising form should be turned in prior to any fundraiser taking place. There's also the district's exposure to bodily fluids report and staff exposure checklist. So if you are exposed to any blood or bodily fluids, please use the report form and the exposure checklist as a resource. The next item in the appendix is Exhibit 378A, which is the non-use of school-provided transportation form. Please note, students are going to be required to ride school-provided transportation to and from athletic contests. If a parent asks to take their child with them after an athletic contest, they must ask the coach in person and sign this form. The coach has the ability to either grant or deny permission. It can be the parent and the parent only, and they can take their child and their child only. So please make copies of this form and carry it with you at all times. Again, we ask that you use good judgment in providing parents the ability to take their child after an athletic event, if needed. The next appendix is in regards to the concussion information. Please note, a concussion is a brain injury. All concussions are serious. Most concussions occur without loss of consciousness. A concussion can occur in any sport. Recognition and proper management of concussions when they first occur can help prevent further injury or death. As a paid coach or a volunteer coach, you are expected and required to do the following. When in doubt of a student athlete having a concussion, hold them out. To help recognize a concussion, you should watch for the following 2 things among your athletes. 1, a forceful blow to the head or body that results in rapid movement of the head. And 2, any change in the athlete's behavior, judgment, or physical functioning. So again, if you have any doubt at all that a student athlete has a concussion, you must hold them out. Please be aware of the signs to be looking for or symptoms that may be reported by an athlete. They appear dazed or stunned, confused, they forget plays, are unsure of the game score or opponent, move clumsily, answer questions slowly, they lose consciousness, show behavior or personality changes, can't recall events before or after the hit or fall. Other symptoms, headache or pressure in the head, nausea or vomiting, balance problems or dizziness, double or blurry vision, sensitivity to light, sensitivity to noise, feeling sluggish, hazy, foggy, concentration or memory problems, confusion, or they just don't feel right. So as a coach, you play a key role in preventing concussions and responding to them properly when they occur. Here are some steps you can take to ensure the best outcome. Educate athletes and parents about concussions. As a district, we provide them with a wealth of resources, but remind them, concussions are a brain injury. They should never try to hide the fact that they have one. Insist that safety comes first. Teach safe playing techniques and encourage them to follow the rules of play. Make sure they wear the right protective equipment for their activity at all times. Teach athletes and parents it's not smart to play with a concussion. And again, prevent long-term problems. Again, that's why proper treatment and diagnosis of an initial or first concussion is imperative to prevent any long-term or significant impacts of a concussion that happens after a first concussion that wasn't treated or diagnosed properly. So what should you do as a coach when a concussion is suspected? 1. Remove the athlete from play. 2. Ensure the athlete is evaluated by a trained healthcare provider. 3. Inform the athlete's parents or guardians about the possible concussion. And 4. Once an athlete has been removed due to or determined to have a concussion, they may not participate again until they are evaluated by a healthcare provider, they are symptom-free, and provide written clearance from an appropriate healthcare provider to return to practice or activity. Again, when we're on away events, it's imperative that if a student athlete sees a trainer, you as a coach have a conversation with that trainer as well to make sure you are completely in the know about what that trainer told that student athlete. Also, any athlete seen by a trainer for a possible concussion needs to be seen by our athletic trainer the next school day before they go back to any type of practice or competition with you. Student athletes need to know that if they do have a concussion, it will impact them not only on the playing field, but also in the classroom. They are going to need additional time and help. So when in doubt, sit them out. There's also information from the National Federation about concussions. That's the same information that parents were provided as well. The next appendix is information from the National Federations of High Schools regarding hazing. Hazing is illegal, unacceptable, and not tolerated at Oshkosh West. As a coach, please take the time at the beginning, throughout your seasons, and even at the end to remind your student athletes that hazing, bullying, and or other rites of passage or initiation activities are not acceptable, will not be tolerated, and need to be reported to you as a coach or administration immediately, no exceptions. The National Federation defines hazing as any humiliating or dangerous activity expected of a student to belong to a group, regardless of their willingness to participate. Again, have conversations with your captains and student athletes about hazing, bullying, initiation type activities. They are not tolerated, they're against the law, and we do not want to be the next school district on the news dealing with one of these issues. So as a coach, you set the example. Any behavior that even borderline might be considered hazing, bullying, put a stop to it right away. Examples, maybe kids are talking, inappropriately about other students. Anything at all, put a stop to it. Don't let it start to become more than just a beginning harmful or just something that might be considered goofing around. Set the example, have a zero tolerance policy. Again, bullying and hazing are connected. Hazing is similar to bullying, but hazing has a tendency to be an institutionalized form of harassment or intimidation centering on initiation rights connected to certain school clubs or activities. Hazing can be seen as an organized form of bullying. So again, we do not want to be the next school district or high school team on the news regarding a hazing or bullying issue. So please set the tone, talk with your athletes, talk with your captains, use it as a lesson, do what you can to educate our kids and let them know if they feel they're being hazed or bullied to come see you right away and report it. The next area of the coach's manual is information from the National Federation of High Schools regarding heat illness and heat acclimatization information. The last section is from the National Federation of High Schools regarding the role of parent in sports. This is just an informational resource for you. We encourage parents to take the self-assessment and score themselves honestly to see where they fall on the positive parenting continuum. Other important topics you need to be aware of. You will receive an informational link from me during the early part of your season with the WIAA season and tournament rules and regulations. The WIAA asks that you as a coach check your sport-specific webpage each and every day of your season. Again, you are considered an expert. You are expected to know all the rules and regulations associated with your sport. If you have questions at any time, please let me know. Also, please be sure to check your schedule to make sure we have not scheduled more than the WIA allows regarding number of competitions per season. Please double check. We don't want to be in a situation where we have scheduled too many contests and therefore are not allowed to participate in the tournament series. All coaches, paid or unpaid, have to complete the online WIA sport video and rules exam test. Therefore, as a coach, I need to have that information from them or from you regarding the email address of all your coaches. Please email coaches all of your bus transportation requests. Send those to me in an email. I will order buses through Cobeson and will check buses each and every day. If you have a student with a disability that would like to participate in your program, please let me know immediately, as we need to make sure we make reasonable accommodations to allow them to participate. Volunteer coach reminders for head coaches or paid coaches. 1, all volunteer coaches must have a background check done. Therefore, I need to know their name and email address so that I can send them the volunteer check form. 2, they will have to complete, again, the online sport video and rules exam. So again, any questions regarding volunteer coaches, please let me know. Regarding student-athlete participation, no student-athlete should be allowed to begin practice at all until cleared by the athletic office. Coaches, you will get a list from me showing all of your athletes that are cleared. They'll have the word yes behind their name. If they are not cleared, that means they're missing something. Have them see me immediately so that I can get them the proper paperwork. Again, nobody practices until they are cleared. Coaches, it is imperative that you let me know anytime you have a new student athlete show up that wants to join a team. We need to make sure we have them added on the roster. We need to make sure they're cleared and eligible. So anybody new at any time that wants to join your sport should not be allowed to begin practice of any kind until cleared by the athletic office. Transfers. If you are aware of a transfer student, please make sure you have checked with me to make sure they are eligible. Again, assume all transfers are ineligible until you are informed from the athletic department that they are eligible. If you have any foreign exchange student, again, assume they are ineligible to practice or compete until they have been cleared by the athletic office to practice and compete. There's an additional WIA form that we have to fill out in order to get them eligibility to practice. Just so you know, coaches, physicals are valid this school year if they are on or after April 1st of 2016. So any physical on or after April 1 of 2016 or more recent will be valid for this school year. A physical from April 1 of 16 to March 31st of 2017 will also require the alternate year card from the parent. All paid coaches will be emailed a copy of the FEA Sport Code. Again, please familiarize yourself with the rules and regulations found within your sport code, as you are expected to know and follow those rules and regulations. Rosters. If you're a sport that we print a program roster for, I will be emailing you a copy of last year's roster. We ask that you update it with this year's information, save it to your computer, and email it back to me. Officials evaluations. Head coaches, if you are in a sport that the WIAA requires you to evaluate officials for, you will be asked to do that on the WIA website once your season has concluded. Again, I encourage you to evaluate those officials throughout the course of your season so that you are familiar and you remember how that group of officials or that official did for you during the course of your season. Coaches, Wednesday practice. All practices on Wednesdays must conclude at 6 p.m., no exceptions. Again, if you have a student athlete that has a religious education class at any day of the week, at any time, they need to be excused without consequence. Please remember to excuse an athlete at any time without consequence for religious education classes. All paid coaches must be CPR, AED, and first aid certified before they're allowed to coach by the WIAA starting this school year. Please take advantage of the course offerings that we will provide throughout the course of the school year. And if you know you need to get certified, please let me know in a timely fashion when the information comes out regarding the coaches meeting for the season that you are a coach in. For non-staff coaches, our district requires that you complete the State of Wisconsin Child Abuse and Neglect training. That information will be sent to you in an email. Also, all coaches that are paid must complete the bloodborne pathogen training and quiz that the district provides. That information will be emailed to you as well. There's also information on the Oshkosh Area School District policies and possibly a short quiz that non-staff coaches will be required to complete as well. Head coaches, you will set up your own year-end awards programs. When you set those dates, please let me know as soon as possible so that I can have your awards ready to go by your program. Also, a reminder, head coaches, you will need a Booster Club sport rep or reps for your programs. It's imperative that I have their name and email address as soon as possible. Coaches that coach specific teams, please note that we have a later start time and later end time for our school day. Many of our student athletes will miss parts of or all of specific class periods during their competition seasons. Remind your student athletes to inform their teachers of their missed class times or dates as soon as possible so that they can work with their teacher to make up any missed work. Also, ask your student athletes at the beginning of your seasons if they're involved in band or choir and know the dates of their performances to see what potential conflicts may exist with academic, band, and chorus performances or orchestra with in regards to any athletic contests. We need to work together to help those student athletes hopefully do both. But again, the sooner we can identify those problems, the better. So have those communications with your student athletes right away at the start of your seasons. Again, all coaches, both paid or volunteer, must turn in a signed concussion acknowledgement form. So paid coaches, make sure I have provided you with copies of those forms, not only for all of your paid coaches, but all of your volunteer coaches as well. All paid coaches, in your coaches package, there will be a form that you must turn in and sign stating that you viewed the coach's online video. If, again, you have any questions about anything found in the coach's manual, WIAA information, or in this video, please ask right away as I'm here to help you be a resource. Also, in that coaches meeting packet of information, there was information for you regarding expectations that we have for our Oshkosh West student athletes, parents, expectations for our coaches, and there's also information about expectations that you as a coach should have for administrators here at Oshkosh West. Again, this information is found in your coaches packet. A reminder, coaches, we expect and want you to live the Oshkosh West vision statement, core values, and creed at all times. Please, we expect and want you to work with your athletes to create goals for your program. We use the BFS goal form. That information sent to you early in your season. We ask that you sit down with your athletes and create goals for your programs. We expect and want all of our coaches to follow a common weight training program. We expect student athletes to lift weights during their high school season. Weightlifting is part of practice during your season. We hope that outside their season, they will continue to lift weights and maintain their strength and conditioning outside of their season. We cannot require this outside the season. We can only encourage it. Also, coaches, during your season, we want you to utilize the bigger, faster, stronger B&11 curriculum and concepts. Again, you will be emailed a file that you will have access to that shares a wealth of information about character curriculum. I know your seasons are short and they're extremely chaotic and busy, but please try to find time during your season to utilize our core values when talking and communicating with our student athletes, and hopefully utilize some of those lessons or curriculum concepts found in the character curriculum file. On behalf of the Oshkosh West administration, we want to sincerely thank you for coaching our student athletes. We know you don't get paid a lot. We know coaching has become a 12-month-a-year requirement, basically, for many of you. We appreciate all that you do for the student athletes, their parents, and for the Oshkosh West Athletic Department and Oshkosh West High School. The administration is here to help you in any way, shape, or form. Please ask us for help if you have questions about anything. Let us know. We are here to help, and we are here as a resource. We want you to know that we have told parents and student athletes that if they have questions about anything at all regarding their participation in a program, they must first speak with you as the coach with their concern. If they contact us first, we are going to direct them to you to have that conversation. We are here to support you 100%. If after that communication they still have questions, the next step in the process would be for them to meet with you and one administrator to discuss what their concern is. Hopefully you can work out an amicable agreement for all parties involved in that initial conversation. Again, best of luck to you during the 2017-18 school year. Go Wildcats, and let me know if you have any questions.